Let's bring in Bob Costas, who won I think his 23rd Emmy last night. I, of course, hijacked the moment and went up on stage to accept for him while he was in the audience. Are you okay today? I took away your moment.
You know, I think it was your moment, Dan. I mean, you've had one speech ready for years and years.
Yes, I have.
Why do people want to hear my 23rd speech? They don't. I don't want to hear my 23rd speech.
Bob, I got people on my list that I was going to thank who are now dead. So it's been that long since I've been up there, and I did say to Bob, if you don't get to the aisle before me, I'm going to have to give you the Heisman and get up there. So thank you for allowing me.
I saw your notes. William S. Paley, Huntley, and Brinkley. They all had an influence back then.
Yes, they did. Congratulations, though.
Thank you.
I did have a technicality question for you. It's called studio host. I'm in a studio.
True.
You're outside.
I'm outside on Sunday night.
Yeah.
However, I'm in a studio sometimes for NBC on other things, and very often for MLB Network on other things on top of that. So technically, I qualify.
Yeah, okay. I don't know, maybe there should be a category, best outdoor host, outdoor studio host, hybrid host, like something.
Outdoor with a set, under a tent in case it rains.
Yeah. Let's see if we could do that. I mean, the night's 3 hours long. Why not add just another category there?
They do keep adding categories.
Did you ever get mad? We're talking about Amari Stoudemire getting angry, and you lose your cool, and whatever's there, you may hit or you may get angry. But have you ever been to the point where you're that angry doing a broadcast?
During a broadcast, no. You know, maybe going to a commercial. If I've made a mistake, I never get really angry at anybody else. But if I made a mistake or felt that I didn't do things as well as I could have, you might take the script and ball it up and throw it across the set, or pound on the desk or something. But nothing that caused any property damage or put me on the disabled list.
He's Bob Costas of NBC Sports, Major League Baseball Network. NBC winning a few Emmys last night. Major League Baseball Network did as well. And congratulations on that. Did want to ask you a couple of baseball notes.
Mm-hmm.
Albert Pujols, now we're into May. I don't know how, and with you being such a great historian with baseball, at what point do you look at something as it's now a trend that's happening with a team or a player?
Well, Jim Cott, my friend from the Baseball Network, my friend of many years, who has seen about as much baseball as any man alive, often says that you need 40 games before you can draw any judgments. 40 games representing about a fourth of a season. Of course, things can turn around for better or worse from there, but after about 40 games, you've got something that you can draw some conclusions from. Now, I don't think Albert Pujols is going to hit 220. I don't think he's going to go homerless through the whole season, but obviously there are pressures on him. Obviously, he's a student of pitching, and he doesn't know the pitchers in the American League just yet. And one thing is for sure, even if he bounces back to hit 300 this year with decent power numbers, which will take some doing, the Cardinals made the right decision. The Cardinals didn't blow him off. They made a substantial offer, which he turned his back on. And when you consider his age and consider the fact that the National League does not have the DH, and consider the fact that even though he was still a great player a year ago, he had declined a bit from his almost otherworldly peak of a few years before, I think the Cardinals made a good, considered judgment. Carlos Beltran is doing great for them. They have plenty of offense up and down their lineup and very deep pitching, and they're likely to win the National League Central after last year just barely qualifying as the wild card before they made the miracle run. So the Cardinals are sitting pretty.
I like what they did, but they also had the benefit of winning a World Series to say goodbye to Albert Pujols. The Angels, if they had just come off winning a World Series, never would have gone after Pujols. So it's a 10-year deal basically with a 5-year window. And if they don't win a World Series, then this is going to be a bad deal for the Angels. So I understand they had to go above and beyond. But I said at the time, the Cardinals will be better because of this. They don't have that obligation where, we tried, he didn't want to stay here, we can move on. You spend that money wisely someplace else. Angels got to win a World Series for this to be validated.
Yeah, they do. And, of course, they have the television aspect with a new deal that they were about to strike, and a large Hispanic demographic there that they could possibly tap into. So they had their reasons, but you're 100% right. If the Cardinals had not gone to and won the World Series, there might have been a bit more fan backlash in St. Louis for letting Pujols go. But really, there isn't much. I mean, they appreciate what he did there, but they do not hold it against the organization. If there's any resentment at all in St. Louis, it's toward Pujols, not toward the Cardinals.
How important is it for Ryan Braun to have a great year?
I think it's very important, at least to have a Ryan Braun type year. Now, he's right when he says, we discussed this before, what I had a problem with was him just not breathing a sigh of relief and figuring he got off lucky and don't bother to throw the tester under the bus, for which there's no logical reason. But one area he was on solid ground was that he said his statistics never spiked. He never had weird spikes in statistics or changes in his body. So on that score, he seems to be correct. If he can put up decent numbers this year, because he's basically a likable guy, some people will never let him forget it, but fewer and fewer people will hold it against him as the years go by, because he's still young in his career. He's got a chance to put a lot of distance between himself and this episode.
I did wonder this, how many mantles you have in your home. If you have 23 Emmys, do you have, like, mantles all around? Like, do you have a room full of mantles, or how does it work?
The only mantle I have the 1958 Topps All-Star card. That's my prize mantle.
How much is that worth?
Yeah, I've seen it pegged at about $400, $500. The one that's really valuable is the rookie card, which can get you between $10,000 and $20,000. But, when we were kids, Dan, you didn't collect baseball cards with the idea of selling them. You collect them to flip them, to trade them, to organize them by team, by era, by league, to put them on the spoke of your bike to make a cool sound while you pedaled around the neighborhood. That's what you saved them for. And in the case of the mantle, beginning when I went off to college, it was the only card that got saved when my mom threw the shoebox out, a story that millions of American boys of that generation can ruefully tell. So I saved the card, and it always would have seemed like a sacrilege to throw it away. So it just kept getting transferred from one wallet to the next, and now I almost have to have it because hardly a day goes by that some stranger doesn't stop me and say, hey, Bob, do you really have the mantle? And if I don't produce it, then I'm a phony, so I got to take it with me everywhere.
What's your favorite piece of sports memorabilia, aside from that you own?
I have baseballs signed by Babe Ruth, by Ty Cobb, by Musial, by Williams, by DiMaggio, by Mays, Aaron. Those baseballs are probably my top personal thing. I'm not that much of a collector, but those baseballs matter.
And collecting Emmys, too. Hey, congratulations again, and thanks for joining us, Bob.
Your speech was so funny, and it was one of the two highlights of the night. That and Jim Nance's magnificent introduction to Jack Whitaker, who received the acclaim that he has long deserved. Those were the two highlights of the night, Dan.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you for letting me borrow your Emmy for a little while.
You got it. Talk to you soon.
All right, Bob
Bye.
Costas. We'll do it again next year. Yeah.